There we go. I want to start by saying, look, things get stressful. Every day when you wake up, you have two sides that are talking to you. You got the one that I'm going to get up and I'm going to kill it and I'm going to be the best I can be, right? That's that great person. Then you have that other one in the back of your head that's, this is kind of tough. You don't have much going on today. You didn't do those things you told yourself you wanted to do yesterday. I think you're struggling a little bit. Is this really what we're supposed to be doing? Does everybody kind of get those thoughts once in a while? It can be tough. Brent Gove is a big dog with EXP, and he says, your biggest enemy is your inner me. You are your biggest enemy. You have the most positive outlook and the most negative outlook between ears. Let me mute that. So you have the biggest motivation and you have the biggest negative in between your ears. And it's tough. I deal with it too. It's so tough. But we have to get in a routine. We have to focus on our best self. Okay? So I have a quick video that I want to share just because this is my guy. And I'm telling you, if you start paying attention to this guy, Eric Thomas, he is unbelievable. So I just want to start our training with this.
I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. I've been listening to me. I've been reading your posts. Some of y'all, you like, E.T., I'm frustrated. E.T., I can't fail another test. E.T., I can't take another loss. Listen to me. Some of you, I've been reading you tired. I feel you. Tired. Some of you scared. Look, some of you hurt. Listen very closely. I need you to do me a favor.
Mike, you're not sharing. You're not sharing.
This month, like flat out, I'm not interested until tomorrow. Like today, can you just survive today? All right, I want you to say this with me. Someone give you will help your boy out. All right. So I need you to say this with me. I can, I will, yeah, I must. All right, look, bro, it's a different TTI. I just need you to do me a huge favor. Come on, work with me. Work with me. I can, I will. I must. Like, you hear what I'm telling you? Now, I'm not an English teacher, so I'm not asking you to say it to be said. Like, I want you to speak life into that thing, whatever it is. Whatever it was frustrating, like for real, you feel like, I can't fail another test. Like, I can't go through another day like this. Like, I can't handle it. I can't take it. Listen to me very closely. Say it with me. Breathe life into whatever that thing is. We're going to speak life into death right now. Whatever your circumstances are, say with me, I can. Yep, I need you to feel it. I can. I remember when I was homeless, I was like, I can get through this. Listen to me. I will get through this. I must get through this. Look, I need you to look at that sickness that's going on in your life right now, whatever it is. I want you to say, I can beat it. Yep. I can beat it. I will beat it. I must. I got kids to live for. I got a family to live for. I ain't through yet. My life ain't over yet. I need you to that chance to fail the third time. I need you to look at that chance and speak life into it. I went from being homeless to where I am right now. And the first thing I did was, you better hear me closely. The first thing I did was I said, I can get through this. I can get through this. Y'all got to do this right. We just got to have that mindset, no matter what you're going through, no matter what challenges you're facing right now, you got to have that mindset that I can get through this thing. I can make it through it. And I made it through. Listen to me. I outlast. Some things you just got to outlast. Every sleepless night, listen to me. Every cold night, the winter Detroit, and the abandoned buildings and cars, sleeping in. Listen to me. I was sleeping all over. I outlasted it. There's something in life you don't need no degree for. You don't need no money for it. Listen, you don't need no support for it. There's something in life you just don't get through when you tell yourself, I'm going to get through this. This is the TGI where I tell you, you can get through it. And then second, you just got to outlast some stuff. That's real. That's some, I'd have had haters. I'd have had all kinds of stuff. And I just made up in my mind, look, I might not have been stronger. Listen to me. I might not have been smarter. I might not have been brighter. But I made up in my mind, I'm going to get through this. So we're going to put an image up. And I need you to see this image, right? And when I look at this image, what I want you to see is this is classic. My man, Look at it. He got the two. He hit. He probably got 998 hits. He got one more. He just got 1 or 2 more hits, and all them diamonds gonna come out. And you know why he'll never see diamonds? Look, 998 hits. He had 2 or 3 years left, and he would have cracked that thing. But you know why he never succeeded, and why most of you never succeeded? Because he keep giving up. Every single thing he gave up. If you was gonna give up, you should have gave up last year. If you was gonna give up, you should have gave up 2 years ago. You should have gave up $2,000 ago. You should have, listen to me, you should have quit a long time ago. You done already put in 998 hits, get up out of it. You finished school, you gonna quit now? You finished school and now it's hard because you can't find a job. You should have quit your first class. You didn't tell me it was 4 years, 5 years of school, and now you quit. Now you give up. So I want you to look at this image for me. I'm gonna tell you something. This guy right here was been successful, and he never given up. And I'm telling you, some things in life is not about what you're thinking. It's just about making up your mind that you're not gonna give up. You're not gonna quit. So your boy was being homeless to where I am now, and I failed classes. Guys, listen to me. Just because you fail don't make you a failure, and just because you lost don't make you a loser. And what I did that most people are not looking at, I just never gave up. I just never quit. All right, so we don't get out here. I gotta go. I gotta let you go. I gotta let you go. I said when you get, you gotta let you I will. Are you hearing me? I can, I will, I must. I leave you with this. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that. But it's real simple. Easy, what do you mean? If you anything, listen, you can make it do anything, you just say these words. Cut this thing off. I just want you to play your favorite song. Look. I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to tell yourself, I am a survivor. Listen to me. You can get through this. You just got to work a little harder. Right? You just got to press a little deeper. Listen, I don't know what you got to do, but I'm telling you, just don't give up and don't give in, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. So if it was easy, everybody would do it. Hey, but I know something about you. If you're watching me, I know something about you. I know something about you. I know you're not a quitter. I know you're a survivor. I know you're a survivor. You're watching me right now. I know something about you. You're a survivor. So I want you to get off this. I want you to cut it off. I want you to go in the mirror. I want you to make the rest of your life the best of your life. I can, I will, I must. I can, I will, I must. I can, I will, I must. It's your boy E.T.
Deep, right? If I could get out of it. All right, where are we at? We good? Man, E.T., I'm gonna tell you what, that's my go-to. I went and saw him in Atlanta last year, and he's just so real. Like he brings it raw, you know, and I can relate to so many things he's saying because we all struggle with it. We all get discouraged. I mean, even doing this kind of stuff, I still wake up sometimes and for a split second, I'm like, are you doing everything right? It's human nature. Everybody's going to be like that. But then you got to turn around and see what's in front of you and see the opportunities that you have and the reason you're doing it and who you're doing it for. We've all made sacrifices in this room. We've all made huge sacrifices in this room, right? We did it for the right reasons. I can look around every single person in this room. I know you guys have made huge sacrifices, including myself, for us to be sitting here today. We don't stop there. We got to push through that. We're going to feel those setbacks. We're going to feel the struggle. We're going to feel like we made bad decisions. But man, let's take each other's energy. Let's lean on each other. All right. Let's lean on the opportunities we have because we all have opportunities to do amazing things. And I'm so excited when we sit in these groups and I look at these people on Zoom and these people in this room. This is why I get up at 6 o'clock every morning and hit the gym and do what I do and prepare for this and do these things and give these things that I have because I love doing this shit with you guys. So I was feeling motivated this morning. I just wanted to share that Eric Thomas video. But now we can dig in. So what we're going to do, so on the fly, I could create one. I want to go over a purchase agreement. All right, so let's do this. We just showed some houses, right? The fourth one we walked through, we asked the $1 million question. What's the $1 million question? Am I still sharing? I'm discombobulated today. Am I sharing? I'm not sharing. Or am I sharing? No? Okay.
No, you're not.
Okay, good. Thank you. The $1 million question, you walk through a house, your client is like, oh, Mike, I really, really like this house. I know we've seen a couple others. I know we have a few more to see. I really like this house. What's my question to them? I know you guys know, but what is that $1 million question that determines how you move forward from that moment on? What's the question? What do we ask, Mike?
Feeling your home.
Right. Does this feel like your home? Do you see yourself living in this house? You walk into the kitchen, you say, or the dining room. Do you picture your family having dinner here? You walk into the kitchen. Can you picture yourself cooking dinner here? You go in the bedroom. Can you see yourself sleeping at night in this room? Those questions will determine how serious they are about that house. If they say, I don't know, or no, or maybe, I'm going to be honest, it's not the right house. When they look you in the eye and go, yes, I feel that. I feel
that. I love that.
I swear it never fails. Like this goes on like twice a week, 3 times a week. So, yeah. That alarm goes off in your head. You know what that means? They love the house. The power works. The alarm's going off. There's a sense of urgency, right? Breathe. Don't cut that off, Rob. Is that loud out there? Jeff, is that loud? You want me to dance while we're waiting?
Probably not as loud as it is there, though.
Oh, it's screaming. But can you see over it or no? Is it distracting while I'm talking or no?
That's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Keep going. You got it.
So anyway, they love the house. They made it clear they love the house, right? Okay. It's time to, what's the first thing we do? We're walking out of the house. We lock up the house. What's the first thing we're doing? We're on the phone with the agent. We're making that agent our best friend, right? Whether you know them, whether you don't, that by the time you hang up the phone, you want him to feel like, or her to feel like you guys are close. You guys are connected. They like you. They respect you. God, it's so distracting right now. So we walk out the house. I'm calling the agent. All right. I'm on the phone. Hey, Mr. Agent, how you doing? I just showed your house on Oak Street. Can you tell me a little bit about the house? That's the first question that I ask, which is a very odd question. What'd you get, Rob? Mr. Agent, we just showed your house on Oak Street. My clients, you never go, oh my God, my clients love this house. Oh my gosh, we're writing an offer. We can't wait to get home and write. You always want to scale it back a little bit. Why is that? Because if you show your cards too early that you're all in, there's no telling how that agent is going to fluff up their side to get everything that he wants in the deal. So it's a game of chess, okay? You got to get a little bit more detailed. It's a game of chess. I just want to do is run around the building for a minute. Hey. No, they're nothing. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. I really apologize. So let me get back on track because that did distract me. I'm calling the agent. Mr. Agent, we did show your house. My clients do have some interest. I thought it showed very well. First thing you do, compliment the agent. Compliment the agent. The house showed really nice. I just wanted you to know you did a great job on the listing. The sellers did a great job. It looked really well. Okay, boom, right off the bat, you boosted their confidence. They already have a liking, all right? They like you a little bit. My off-the-wall question is, it's very open-ended. What can you tell me about the house? Tell me a little bit about the house. there's no telling what they're going to say. They might go into how long it's been on the market, what the sellers want, what they want, or they might go, well, what does that mean? I really don't know what that question even means. What are you asking? And that's when you can kind of elaborate a little bit. But normally when you leave it open-ended, there's no telling what information you're going to get. Like I said, it's a game of chess. You're strategically moving around to try to gather as much information as you possibly can without asking directly stuff you shouldn't be asking, because technically they shouldn't be talking about certain aspects of it. They shouldn't be talking about numbers. They shouldn't be talking about other offers. None of that stuff technically should come out of their mouth. But guess what? In certain situations and conversations, agents will give you more than you think they will. Okay. So make that connection, boom, leave it open-ended, whatever it is. What's the key questions? What's important to the seller? Obviously, we know they want the most money. That's a given. What else is important to them? So what else would be important? Occupancy, right. Do they already have another home? Where are they moving to? We want to know. So that's a whole collection of information that we want to gather. When are they moving? Have they already bought? Have they not bought? You know, what's their timeline, right? So those are key, because we got to know where our situation is with our buyers to make sure that we can collaborate with what the sellers want. So that's very important. But then you can kind of dig in when you get into the whole, do you have any offers in hand? Okay, sure. He can say, yes, no, I have multiple. They technically should give you yes. You know, we do have one, or we have more than one, or whatever. The other question you are allowed to ask, do you have any cash offers? They have to technically, for whatever reason, they should disclose if they have cash offers on the table or not. Okay. But sometimes they'll go further than that. I've had one round like, he's like, yep, I got 6 offers, but I'll tell you the top offer is a conventional $260,000, $10,000 appraisal guarantee. That's the best what we're looking at. Boom. He just told me exactly what I need to write. As long as I can fit in that, I'm going to come back at 261 or 262. I'm going to give maybe 7 days more occupancy, maybe free, maybe not free. You know, modify the inspection where maybe it's just a pass fail instead of a standard inspection. You know how much, and I know appraisal guarantees are a little bit lighter. They do still happen, but he's already laid his hand on the table. Now you can go back to the buyer and say, okay, I know exactly what we need. This, and make sure that that works for us. So now we're in a great position, bro. I'm gonna call him Jay. All right, I'm not even gonna let stop. All right, or they can be tight-lipped, because a lot of agents won't tell you anything, nothing. They'll just be, hey, write up the offer, and you know, I'll be submitting on such and such day, such and such a time, and I'll let you know how, you know, after that. Then you kind of got to guess where you're at. You know, that's when your knowledge comes into play. You pull your comps. Then you think from a different aspect, what you think it would shake out as. What do some of them offers look like? If I was a listing agent, what would I be expecting? You know what I mean? And then you kind of got to go from there. But the game is trying to pull as much info from the agent as you can. Okay. So we call them. We got a great, you know, amount of information. We go back to our buyers. We go back to our buyers and say, look, I talked to the listing agent. We know it's only been on the market 2 days. They're going to show it through Sunday. They have 2 offers on the table. Both are conventional. He told me both are over asking. That's really all that I got out of it. So that's when we have to take all those components together, put it in to prepare the best purchase agreement for us. So minimize this for a second. Open up. Of course. I mean, I was surprised. What? What are you saying? Where am I? I am so out of whack right now. This has got me really What happens all the time? That's the worst part about it. All right, let's just create a new transaction. How about that? Can you guys see what I'm doing? Good. You guys can. I'm not sharing yet. I just want to pull this up real quick. Sorry for the hang up, guys.
You need my copy?
No, I'm gonna actually do one on here. I just have to 27129. Let's do this one.
Everything that you were currently doing, you just got to have to put a little bit better.
Okay, so we got the one that's hold on one second, guys.
Right.
All right, hold on. I'll be sharing here 1 second. Just had to prep this. Hi, Stacy. All right, get your snackies and all that. What'd you get, Rob?
10 bits and a couple bagels.
Got it. All right, so we're sharing. We see it. Okay. All right. Sorry about that delay. I just wanted to. I swear to God.
Did I just go outside? Does anybody have? Okay.
No, what? They're changing the zones. I hear it back there. All right, so here we're gonna go. Nice. Does it seem like it happens on every Friday?
It didn't happen last week, but I think that's because
It's whenever that van, that FSS Technologies is here, they're usually working on it. Well, you know, hey, we're good. All right, so here we go. So I have a new purchase agreement. Okay, we're gonna run right through it. I want to really just go step by step. Okay. Obviously, I skipped the whole part about going into RealComp, opening up Remind, opening up Docs Plus, right? I'm not going to get into that part so much. I know I went over that a few weeks ago when I did the Buyer 101 or A to Z. We can do that in more detail. Today, I just want to strictly kind of go over the purchase agreement itself, okay? So we pulled it up. We know where we're at. I have the house we're going to buy. We're starting from the top, obviously. Remind obviously preloads a lot of the info from the transaction of the deal that you're writing an offer on, okay? That's the beautiful thing about Remind. You don't have to manually create everything. So you can see right off the bat, we're starting from the beginning. MLS number right off the bat is the home. The date obviously is today that we're writing. It's going to populate all the listing agent's information, which happens to be me. It populates all your information as the buyer's agent. Now, let's look at that. We have a listing broker and a selling broker. Remember that conversation we've had in the past? So if you're the agent for the buyer, which one are you? The listing broker or the selling broker? Selling. Remember, it gets confusing. The selling agent and the buyer's agent is the same thing. Listing agent, selling agent is not the same thing. Listing agent is listing agent. They have the house. They have the listing. So sometimes that gets confusing because sometimes some documentation says buyer's agent, sometimes it says selling agent. So know that the selling agent and the buyer's agent is the same thing, okay? So we're on the right side. There's no co-selling agent. There's none of that, okay? You know, agent ID, things like that will populate all this stuff. You know, a lot of times it'll be in there. Office ID, we can do that. You don't have to have all this information there. It's good to have it. Most of the time it populates. Property description. So it's giving you the city, it's giving you the county, it's giving you the legal description. A legal description can be real small or it can be a whole freaking paragraph, okay? It can be, but I can tell you if one of these characters somehow gets misconstrued or deleted or changed, you're buying a completely different property. Interesting, huh? If one of those characters is not 100% accurate, you're buying the wrong property or that property doesn't exist and it doesn't pertain to that. I know that's very anal, but I learned that early on in real estate. One character in that legal description changes the property. So sometimes you might just want to breeze through it. Obviously, this is auto-populated, but if you're ever in a situation where you have to manually provide it, make sure it's accurate, okay? We roll into the next phase. We're looking at the address, all the basic stuff, zip code, things like that, right? The next page, the next section on the first page. This is where we start putting in what is included. We've negotiated it. It's probably in the listing, right? While we're here, let's just pull up the listing real quick, just so we can compare. So when we get into that, what are we asking for? What are some of the things that we're potentially asking for as additional items in the home? What's that? Appliance. Yep, to be very specific, right? Every appliance has to be. Bro, see, I'm not even gonna get mad anymore. So we see right here. Go see where we're at. Okay. Okay, so we listed no appliances, which was good, but you still want them. Okay, here's a question. The listing agreement only says microwave and dishwasher. Is that all you're allowed to ask for? Huh? Is that all you can ask for is the microwave and dishwasher? If they have it on a listing that says appliances included, microwave, dishwasher, is that all we can ask for? You can ask for more, right? You can ask for whatever you want. We want the hot tub. We want the swing set. We want the tree fort. We want the freaking the little statue in the front of the fake deers. We want it all. You know, you can ask for whatever you want. It doesn't mean they have to give it to you. So know that you don't just have to go by what they say. A lot of times it can be discussed. Are the appliances included? Maybe they're negotiable. That's part of the conversation you can have with the agent is, hey, I saw the appliances weren't included in the listing. Are these an option? Are they available for sure or not available for sure? Or is there other options we can discuss? So let's just say hypothetically in here, the listing doesn't say nothing, but guess what? We want the stove, refrigerator, microwave, dishwasher. We want the washer.
You have to ask for blinds.
And the dryer. Blinds technically are considered a fixture on the house because anything that is attached to the home is considered a fixture, which it should come with the home. You shouldn't have to ask for it. But people get real anal about it. Hey, the curtain rods are attached to the house, but guess what? The curtain itself is not. So technically, we're going to keep the curtains. We're just going to leave the curtain rod unless you specify differently. No, we want the curtains. You know what I mean?
Like the dishwasher and the microwaves that are attached to the
it's a gray area there because with the appliances, they can claim they want to keep them. Even though who takes a dishwasher out? You know, 99% of the time they're leaving that. That's like the one normally, if it has it, it's staying no matter what. But yeah, technically something that's attached, like this light. If I don't, you know, you could say you want that, but technically it should stay with the house because it's a fixture, okay? I think this is the worst most times it's ever done it, right, Rob?
Well, that week you were in Vegas,
Oh, okay.
5 straight days.
Okay.
So,
All right, so I'm gonna go back to the listing. They have it listed for, wow, it dropped big time, 124.9. You talk to the agent, he's got 2 offers that are conventional. He said they're both over ask, right? That's what we got out of him. Okay. So price-wise, now listen, you got to remember when you're discussing with a buyer, you don't make one decision. All you do is advise. Hey, this is what I feel. Per my conversation with the agent, per the comps that I pulled with what I know, this is what I recommend we should consider writing the offer for. We don't say, hey, just so you know, we're going to write it for 130. Done. That's not our call. That's not our job. Is to advise. Our job is to inform, provide information, experience, knowledge that we know. They ultimately make decisions. So you say, this is what I recommend we do to have the best shot at the home. What do you think? What would you like to write it for? Let them make that decision. Okay. Remember that you never make decisions. You only advise. So they said, oh, you know, I think we need to come in a little stronger because we know he has 2 offers over, you know, if they're 124.9, they're probably in the high 120s, maybe 130. Maybe he said, I got decent offers above ask. So you got to take every word that listing agent says. I got really strong offers over.
Can they lie though?
Well, technically, how would you ever know? But ethically,
Yeah.
damn them if they do.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's an advantage, but are you going to go to bed at night knowing you had to lie to that agent to get them to come up $5,000 more to get that? I mean, that's not good business. You know what I mean? But can they, if they want to? Sure. We technically might never know.
Yeah.
We don't see all the offers down the road. We don't know what else came in.
Right.
So, but if you're doing that to do business, I mean, go sell used cars or something. You're probably good at that. So anyway, they said, hey, Mike, let's go in at 130. If he said we had a couple, a little bit over ask or whatever wording he said, we're comfortable with 130. So we're at the price, right? Once you go to the next one, see, it automatically populates the wording in there. You don't have to type that. Once you put the dollar amount in there, it automatically populates, okay? Method of payment. Do we know the difference? Obviously. Why does A say cash sale? Why does B say cash sale? What's the difference? With mortgage, right? Cash sale with mortgage, correct. That means there is money involved, but there's also a majority on the mortgage, right? Yeah. Cash sale is great. If your clients are cash, we're just checking that A box and we don't have to put conventional, how much down, we don't have to put any of that, right? But unfortunately, we're working with a conventional pre-approved buyer, okay? So we're gonna do cash sale with new mortgage. Agreement contingent on buyer securing a, what goes in that spot? Securing a what type of mortgage, Ash?
Conventional.
What's the options there? We could put multiple, right? Primarily, those are the main ones you work with. Yeah, so that's securing a, and we're conventional. So I always do CONV, all caps, okay? Because you always want to show that. You always want to show conventional. Conventional in this world of real estate has pull. Talk to a lot of lenders. If you talk to Rob, other lenders that I know, there's not a lot of difference, but in a real estate agent's mind, it's like this. FHA's here, conventional's here, cash is here. But technically, a mortgage is a mortgage, right, Rob? But in a listing agent's mind, if they see conventional, they get a little bit more excited than if they see FHA. It's kind of a misconception in the market, but you have to deal with it, just knowing. But we're conventional, which is solid, good. We know that they're gonna they got whatever, X amount down. So we're gonna say, you can put a dollar amount there, you can put a percentage there. Okay, we're gonna put 5% down, okay? Or you can say, we're going to put, what are we, 130? That'd be 13, what, 6,500? You could say 6,500. It's however you want to word it. But the more general you want to be, I would prefer to stay more general. Don't be so specific. Okay. So we're going to say, look, we're putting 5% down and we're going to finance 95%. Make sense? Okay. They're going to put, so plus mortgage costs, prepaid items, blah, blah, blah. Buyer agrees to apply for such mortgage at buyer's own expense within how many calendar days? Rob, what's a preferred how many calendar days? Once the offer is accepted, they officially should apply. 5 to 7. See, I usually do 3 to 5 usually is the window. Just, I think it shows that sense of urgency that they're immediately going to apply. So let's just hypothetically say, we'll say 5 days because we was kind of in the middle there. So that means they're officially filling it out. We got pre-approved, right? We have the letter that shows we're pre-approved from Rob, right? But we still haven't applied for the mortgage, right, Rob? At some instances we have ways that we do a lot of it in advance, but a typical mortgage, you're just pre-approved. You're not approved. You haven't applied officially yet. This comes in, we send it to the lender. Now we're applying for the mortgage. So that's saying, hey, right after we get this, within 5 days, we're going to be applying for our mortgage. Okay. If a mortgage commitment condition only upon marketable title satisfactory survey is not delivered to a listing broker within. So that pretty much means within how many days do we have to let them know that what I just said, we've been approved for the mortgage, right, Rob? How many days would you put in there? Yeah, to know that they're fully approved by how many?
5 days.
Well, be fully approved. Think about a typical mortgage, I think. This is we're going through the whole process.
7 to 10.
Okay, we can do that. We can do that. I put 30. So literally that's telling them we need to be fully approved and ready to move forward and our mortgage approved in 30 days. 30 days. Okay. That gives us a cushion because we don't want to pinch us either. We say 15 and then it's carrying over. If they really pay attention, that'd be like, hey, you told us we'd have a fully approved, mortgage ready to go in 15 days. So I always give us a cushion. I put 30 days. Okay. They're going to initial. We move on to second page. Earnest money deposit. Obviously, everyone's familiar with earnest money deposit, right? When does an earnest money deposit come into play in a deal? Not submitted, but a lot of times people will do an EMD in advance. I just closed on a deal where the EMD carried over to 3 separate transactions. But if you don't have it yet, the minute you get an accepted, because that's usually the understood factor between buyer and seller agent or listing agent is the minute it's accepted, how many days do we have to get the EMD turned into title? 48 hours, right? 2 days.
How is there business days, right?
2 business days. Does everybody do it in 2 business days? No. Does everybody get hammered if they turn it in 3 business days? Technically, no. Legally, though, we should have it within 2 business days. So the minute you get that and you let them know, hey, we just got our offer accepted. Here's our next 2 steps. I need an EMD check for you for the amount that we agreed upon right here. I need it made out to ABC title. I need to pick that up either today or tomorrow at the latest. And depending on the title company we work with, they all have different processes and procedures to collect that and give you a receipt. A lot of them are more difficult than others. They're starting to get easier. Some of them are doing electronic ones. You can take pictures of the check and send it right through an app and they'll receive it. Other ones, we have to physically deliver it, drop it off. They handwrite a receipt and give it back to us. Why do we need the receipt? What does the receipt do? Like, what's the point? Sure. So 2 steps. It shows that you turned in a receipt or the EMD. Because what if 2 weeks go by and someone goes, hey, I never saw the EMD. Do you still have it? And you go, no, I turned it in. And I'm like, oh, okay. Can you shoot over the receipt to me? And you go, what receipt? Guess what? You're now on the hook for that EMD. You're responsible to figure out where that EMD is. So that receipt alleviates the responsibility of you having that in your possession. Okay. But on the back end, like Mike said, when it's time to close, right? Your checklist for EXP, there's a certain section right in there that says a copy of the EMD and a signed receipt from title has to be in there for it to close, okay? So that's very important. The minute you get a signed accepted offer, your number one priority is getting that EMD in your hand and over the title as quick as you can. What's the thing right after that? I'm going off track, but what's the next thing we're going to do? We're going to talk about a simultaneous EMD, and what's the next thing that we're going to prep for? Private inspection, right? Because when we get to that, that's your process. Write an offer, accept an offer, EMD, private inspection, appraisal, and so on. That's your chain of command. Okay, so we're right here. Okay, 130. Ash, if you were writing this offer for 130. How much of an EMD would you recommend? Let's say they have let's say they have a good amount of money set aside, or someone that maybe just has enough to close. Like, how would you handle that?
I mean, you don't want to do any less than 1% probably.
Right. 1% would be the minimum I would always do. But a $1,300 EMD, okay. And I'm not saying 1,000 does not fly. Because if it's understood, that EMD is not always important. If you're competing though, you're going up against two other offers and you put $1,000 EMD or you put a $5,000 EMD, what does that do to the listing agent when he sees, what is that telling him if you put $5,000? You're committed. You're willing to put $5,000 of your personal money up to go after this house. Because you know if something goes south or you do something wrong and you don't back out when you can, there's a good chance you could lose that. So of course, someone's going to be more on the hook for 5,000 as opposed to 1,000. So you want to know that number when you talk to your buyers and say, what are we comfortable with as an EMD? We know we have X amount in the bank for closings, et cetera, et cetera. How much can we put down as an EMD? Because the more we do, the more secure the listing agent and the sellers will feel with your money, okay? So let's just say, we got a decent amount, we got enough to close. So let's say we're going to do $2,500. For a $130,000 deal, that's almost double. So you're talking, a decent amount. That if it was a $500,000 deal, you'd probably want to put $5,000 to $10,000 down. You know what I mean? So if you read this, it makes it clear in the form of a check, never a money order. I don't even know why that's on there. A check or a cashier's check or certified funds. So this says, and an additional sum, which normally no one ever does that. Some people say, I'll do a front end. And then if it gets accepted, I'll put this much more on the back end. So let's just say they say, I'll put 1,000 now. I already have it. Here's a copy of it. And if you accept our offer, I'm going to put another 2,000 on it. So then it'll total 3. More times than not, a lot of people don't do that. It's a one-time EMD, but some people do that to just show, hey, you accept my offer, I'm going to put X more down on it, okay? But, just for the sake, we'll say 0. Now, boom, shall be tendered within how many calendar days of acceptance by seller, right? So that's what we just talked about. Technically, we've all learned that in class, right? So it says 2 days, 48 hours, whatever is the actual prime target. Okay, so totaling, so we didn't add to it, so it's going to be 2,500, because if you see it says calendar days of acceptance by seller, making the total earnest money deposit, and you would add those two numbers together, but it's only the one. So then you'd have the total there, okay? Any questions on the EMD? It's pretty straightforward, but you see the value or the impact that it can have. If your people have good money, say, look, and you want to buy this house and you're not hesitant, put 10 grand on it. Because that's telling them sellers, we are dead serious about buying this. We just put 10,000 down on a $130,000 house. We want this house. And believe it or not, that will sway. That's one of your key factors in your offer that will hold weight. Okay. Acknowledgement of earnest money deposit. Now this is tricky. Okay. So this is saying received by. So this, what I always put in there is the title company that we're giving the check to. The title company we're using, the one that's involved with the transaction. You never put eXp Realty. eXp Realty does not hold EMDs. We don't do that. So you never put your brokerage, okay? You never put me, you never put you. So that even gets a little bit tricky because let's just say hypothetical, I'm using ABC title, okay? Agent. So that's agent when that sounds tricky to me. See, I used to sign that. I stopped signing it I'm not putting myself on the hook for ABC Title handling that EMD check, okay? So I leave it there. I will not sign it. I don't put my name there because it doesn't pertain to me. I'm the mailman. I'm taking it from buyer and I'm giving it to title and I'm done. I have my receipt back. I share that with who needs it. I'm out of the equation. Never put yourself on the hook and say, I'm the agent that signed on this. I'm responsible for that, okay? That's how I do it.
How do we know that soon what title company they're using?
Well,
We're just writing the offer.
Well, that's where you being the agent, you advise on more than just numbers in the purchase agreement.
Okay.
You also have conversations to discuss the best mortgage companies they can work with. If they're working with one or they're not working with any, you recommend a couple, some that you know do good business. Title the same way. We know who we work well with.
Right.
We can't say, I can't say, hey, Selena, we're using ABC Title because that's who I'm connected to.
Mm-hmm.
You can also say, hey, just so you know, that there's good title companies out there. I'm going to recommend that we use ABC Title. They're very good. They're very communicative. You'll really be satisfied. And they go, okay, boom. But you never know. Someone might have an aunt that works at, Yo Mama Title. It'd be like, hey, we have to use my aunt for title. I promised her that I would use it. Okay, great. But how many clients out of 10, Ash, would recommend a title company they want to use? I'm going to say 0.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 0. But that's where you come in. That's where your recommendations and your advisement come in, okay? Closing, subject to all conditions herein. Closing shall take place on or before. Does this date matter? Does it? Well, initially, right on the contract, does this date matter?
No, because you haven't gotten accepted offer.
Does it matter? Hannah, does it matter? Rob, does it matter? Does that date matter? Russell, does that matter?
It matters.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a scenario. A couple of years ago, I had an offer. We had a 30-day close, okay? The 30th day came and we were about a day and a half away from getting a CTC. What would you do normally if you go past that initial? You would, that's an option, right? Guess what? Seller said, nope. He said, after tomorrow, we're out of contract. You lost the deal. I'm keeping your EMD and I'm putting it back on the market Tuesday morning. Now tell me how important that date is.
Yeah.
Crucial. I lost a deal because we were a day and a half late from the date that I put on this contract, and the seller said, absolutely not, I'm not extending it. Kept our EMD, put it back on the market, and sold it to someone else.
Wow.
You're talking a day and a half before we were going to close. They pulled the rug out from under my clients. Brutal. But guess what? We're out of contract. This contract expires that date. So tell me how important that date is. That's one of the most important pieces on this purchase agreement. Because yeah, 9 times out of 10, hey, this was set to close by tomorrow. I'm going to write up an extension for the closing till, 4 more days. No problem. Sign, everyone's happy, right? But there's that one guy, like Dr. whoever he was, that said, nope, I'm not doing it. And we lost because of that. So this date is very important. So put thought into it. So, okay, Mike, what's your take on it? Like, what do you realistically, what's today? So let's just say today's November 1st. Because I know we've gone over this before, so I'm curious to see, right? But, okay, so you'd say 30 days, right?
I'd probably give it like till the 15th, maybe. Because I just know how closings can go south.
Okay, so
like you just said.
So you're the listing agent, though. Now you just received a purchase agreement that says 45-day close, but your sellers are anxious to sell and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a plus or a minus if you make it too long? Huge.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ash.
I think 30 days too, but 70 is tricky.
So a typical loan will close within 25 to 35 days. Typical. What I do I go at least 30, and then I go to the very end or the beginning of that same week. So my average would be about 35 days. And those 5 days come into play more than you would recognize, because a lot of loans don't close in 30 days. But you never want to put yourself in a position where that seller says, hey, we're out of contract. I'm not extending it. You lose out. Okay. So put some thought into that. You know, everyone, at least 30, but give yourself a little bit more of a cushion. Okay. Yep. Yep. Yeah, it might be 33 days or 36 days or something, but that's what I always do. Because then even if you go to that Monday, if it's a Tuesday, it's 30, and you go, I'm going to go to the following Monday, a lot can happen the rest of that week, even over the weekend, to get things set up for that next week. So, all right. So we're going to say today is the 4th. So we're going to do 35 days. So I'm going to say December 4th. See, look at it, falls on a Sunday. So it's perfect, right? So I would say the 9th. That just gave us 35 days. All right. Possession. We already had a conversation with the listing agent, right? What did he tell us? He said, yeah, my clients already bought a house. They're in the process of moving. They get the keys. They get the keys in about 10 days, and they're going to need about 2 weeks to move out. So that's what they're looking for. Okay. So do we ask for possession at closing? Because what are they going to do? They're either going to counter and say, hey, we told you we needed time, or B, you just put yourself in the B pile because you didn't pay attention to the conversation you had with the listing agent and you asked for keys. I'll tell you, I'll be honest. If I have a conversation with an agent and I tell them we need time and they turn in an offer with possession at close, that's a huge blemish on my part. And I make it known to them. I'm like, look, I told them that. They're still asking for this. Yeah, they still might have a nice offer, but we're going to counter. But to me, that's like, when you have those conversations, pay attention. You're gathering and collecting information from this agent, so you're giving them what they want. So if you know we need time, why would you do possession at close? That makes you look like a damn fool as an agent, right? So they say they get their keys in 10 days. They need about 2 weeks to move out. So what's that put us? 24 days? Okay, so what would you do, Mike? What would you put on for possession? I don't know, 30 days. I think that's, yep. Because you always, even if they ask for 15 or 10 or, yeah, give them that cushion. I always go literally 7, 14, 21. I don't even do 28. I'll go straight to 30. If they need a week, give them 2. If they need 2 weeks, give them 3. If they need 3, give them that extra. Don't push them, because they respect that and they appreciate that you're giving them a little bit more that they asked for. That does go a long way, believe it or not. All right, Selena. So they get their keys in 10 days of their new house. They need 2 weeks to move. What would you put for possession? How much would you give them? 10 days they get their keys. Okay. That takes them 2 weeks to close once they get, or 2 weeks to move once they get their keys. So we're about 24 days that they need minimum. What would you give them? 30. Right. Okay. Be a little more, a little bit more confident. Yes, 30. That's what we just said. Give that a little bit of a cushion. What they asked for, give it a little bit more of a cushion. You doing good over here? Is it not? Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to give them. So we're not doing closing, and this is what I said. You had a conversation with the agent. They told you they needed occupancy. Please don't write that keys at close, because you look like a dummy. Okay. All right. So we're going to say by 12 noon, 30 days after closing. So when does that start? Does that 30 days start the day they accept our offer? The day we literally sign, shake hands, hug it out. Congratulations. So this is I always count the next day as day one, but some people count that day of closing as day one. And it can come right down to it, because when there's a high pressure situation and you have to be out a certain time and it's cutting close, I might look at it a little bit different than you look at it. We might be a day off. So whether I'm right or wrong, that's how I do it. And I've fought for it and I've been okay. But some people do count that closing day as day one. Okay. All right. So now, okay, here we are. Tricky, right? If possession is not delivered at closing, from and including day of closing, see, from and including day of closing. So is that day 0? Is that day 1? Tricky, huh? Interpret it how you feel. Through date of vacating property, seller shall pay the sum of blank per day. What determines if we ask for occupancy money or we don't? But what determines in our offer if we give them free occupancy? What would be some of the variables that would have us consider giving them free occupancy?
They're going to take their time.
Huh?
They're going to take their time.
They will take their time, but we're giving them the 30 days. Well, let me say it like this. What's our benefit of giving them free occupancy?
The offer is going to be looked at better.
What if the 2 other offers are asking them to pay the minute they close? So technically, what does it work? How does it go? Okay, if we do free, we do free. Great. If it's going to help us give leverage, our buyers are okay with giving them that time, because technically, if the buyer closed today, they give 30 days, there's a good chance there's an area in between here that they're not really paying a mortgage payment. So they're not really losing any money, but it kind of shaves that little month or so grace period because you're giving it to them. How do you determine if you do want to charge them? What's my number right there? Seller shall pay the sum of blank per day.
Were you saying it already?
So let me ask a question. How do you get the mortgage payment? Right. So you're gonna get a good number, right? Okay, the house payment's gonna be $1,000 a month. Right. So then per day, you want it to mirror that month payment. So you take the 1,000 and what? Divided by 30, right? So how do you, if you were to write that, and you can put it as a dollar amount, so whatever it is, what is it, Rob? 33 cents, right? Okay, fantastic. Other way that you'll see written, if somebody sees PITI 1/30th, what does that mean?
1/30 is like 1 day of the 30 of the mortgage or insurance and everything together.
What's PITI?
Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
There you go. Absolutely. PITI. You'll see PITI 1/30th and the token person gone. I know what it means, but I don't know what it means. Yeah. So that's exactly. You're paying 1/30th every day of their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, which literally is their mortgage payment. But you're broken down by day, not by month. Okay. So those are the 2 ways. But whether you give free or whether you charge comes down to the scenario that you're in. If it's highly competitive, if your buyers are okay with it, all these factors will determine if you charge or if you don't. Okay. So let's just say we're going to give it to them at 0. How's that sound? Because we're in competition with 2 other, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sewer and water charges, that all depends on where you're at. Sellers agrees to pay all sewer and water charges to the date of closing or of possession, right? So that determines if you're buying the house today, but you're not getting it for 30 days, should you start paying the water bill the day you close or the day you possess the home? Correct. And how does that happen? What does the selling side have to do for that to happen? When it's time to get the keys. Get a final water reading, make sure it's done. And hey, it don't even bother me to call the listing agent 2, 3, 4, 5 days ahead of time, right? And go, hey, just want to double check. I know we're getting close. Were you guys able to get the final water reading done, or do you need me to call on it? You know, there's nothing wrong with giving a little push. Okay. Even the same thing with utilities, DTE. You know, hey, I know we're closing on Friday. I know it's only Monday, but I just want to, remind you, hey, we're calling on Wednesday or Thursday. Just, I just want to double check with you and make sure we're on the same page. What's that? Which ones? Water does. Water does. In most scenarios, DTE is by the person. So yeah, it's in my name, but the water in most cities is by the address. So that's why you want to get it, final water, get title to pay it from the money they held at closing, give the difference back to your buyer or to the seller, and then you start 0 the day you get the keys. You have a 0 water. All right. You know, I'll blow through some of this other stuff, title evidence and survey, you know, they're going to do title insurance. That's all stuff that you do. It's all on your, you know, checklist of what you're paying for with title through the process of closing. Okay. Taxes. Now here, let me bring something up. So taxes, see this purchase agreement right here doesn't specify. You may see, if you're on the list side, you may see other purchase agreements that give options for taxes. I just had a big hang up on one of my deals that I closed, and the old 73-year-old agent, her offer or her purchase agreement still had the option to do prorating taxes or non-prorating taxes. What's the difference? Nope. So prorating. So we always pay taxes in advance, right? So when you own a house, you've already paid it forward. When you close on a house, so I've paid my taxes through the year, I close on a house today, what should happen? You don't own the house anymore, right? But you've already paid the taxes in advance, right? Which is called prorating your taxes. You want the taxes prorated. So every day, once you sell going forward that you paid taxes, that buyer should reimburse you that. This agent checked no proration. You know what that meant? My sellers don't get their taxes back. Thank you very much for paying our taxes. They're not prorated. $3,800 they almost lost on just by her checking that one box. Exactly. Exactly. Well, here's my thing. I see hundreds of purchase agreements a year. None of them really have that anymore. And who the hell checks no proration? Yeah. Technically, your seller or your buyer would bet, not my, that buyer would have benefited from them because that's $3,800 in taxes. They didn't have to pay my seller back. But ethically, they don't own the house anymore. So why would you allow them to pay your taxes in advance? But she checked it and I didn't catch it. So title, they send over the final disclosure and I'm looking it over and my buyer's looking over and like, something doesn't seem right. So I'm looking, I'm like, call title. I'm like, hey, they didn't put the taxes on. They're not getting their taxes reimbursed. She's like, oh, that's weird. Let me look. And while I'm waiting to hear back, I bring up the purchase agreement. I'm just double checking. I'm like, she checked no proration. So literally I had to do an addendum, get both parties assigned to make it prorated for my clients to get their taxes back. Normally you see this one, it doesn't say that. It doesn't give you that, but there's thousands of different purchase agreements out there. Every company has a different variation that has different, and this is the one we're used to. And that's another thing I'm gonna say as we go through this, you gotta, when you're the listing agent and you get purchase agreements in, you better read that sucker through with a fine-tooth comb because everyone's is written up different and you might miss something because it's written up different than the one you use or the one you're used to. You better take the time and sit down and read that line by line because guess what? You miss something key like that, which I technically did, and you send that off to get signed. They may not read it. But even if they don't and they sign it, if it's something that's a disadvantage, you're screwed. Yeah. You just agreed to it. So when you're a listing agent, read those through, detailed line, especially if you're not familiar with it, read that sucker through. Read it a couple times. Take notes of the key components, like, you know, the elements of the offer so you don't miss nothing, okay? All right, here we go. Assessments, okay, we're not doing much there. It's more just, you know, informative. Condominium homeowners association assessments, you know, that's current dues shall be prorated to a close, but you don't have to put nothing in there. You know what I mean? But it's prorated almost like tax. It's the same thing, okay, when you get into that. You know, maintenance of property, sellers responsible for keeping property in substantially same condition as the date of the agreement, which means they can't go trash the house. This one doesn't have it. I have to make it an addendum, but what do you do for something like that? Go ahead.
So you would, they have to pull a deposit or escrow. So when you do the final walkthrough, if there was damage, when we had our sellers that the buyers gave us $1,000, so we had to put $1,000 in escrow as the selling agent. So when they do the final walkthrough, if there's any issues wrong, they can keep that $1,000.
Right.
And it goes to the
so it's like a damage escrow. It's just like the water escrow where the water gets paid, but they trash the house moving out. They put holes in walls, they scratched up floors, like major flaws, or something's missing that was supposed to be there. It's a damage escrow. And the one thing on this, it's not really in this, but I would include it in the additional ones. There's other purchase agreements that do have it. And a lot of times you'll see more than not, people put that in for damage escrow. Because if someone moves out and they're careless, and there's stuff that it wasn't that way when you walked through last. So let's go back on that, like final walkthroughs. If we're closing tomorrow, but we're not getting the keys for 30 days, should you do your final walkthrough today, or should you do it before you get keys? Right. Because a lot can happen between today and 30 days from now. And then you're not back there until you get the keys. And now you're like, holy crap, what the hell happened?
If they paid some, if right now, if I saw the damage stuff and it was like more than $1,000, could they back out? Like, is there any, like, I guess.
Well, that was the number they agreed upon. I mean, I've seen $5,000. I've seen, you know, it's what they're the ones that offered it up. If they think they're going to cap it 1,000, and, you know, and it's still a struggle even that they can't just go, you know, I honestly had one when I closed my one on Sibley Road, and they were holding $1,500. And they came back and said, well, there was a pile of wood in the garage, and there was dog poop not picked up, and there were marijuana roaches in the back corner, and we want to keep the 1,500. That's damage. Literally, that's what they said. Dog poop, weed, and a stack of wood in the garage, and they wanted to. So guess what? When they send that over, that key exchange, and they say we want the money, do they automatically get the money?
No.
What has to happen? Well, they already wrote it up. The key exchange says, hey, we took the keys on this day, we found this, this, and this. So when it says sellers get this, buyers get this, they put sellers get 0, buyers get 1,500. And they sent that over for my clients to sign. What do you think happened?
So I think that they could say no, but then they could technically not get their other deposit back.
There's no other one. It's just for damage.
I don't know.
We don't have to sign it. We don't have to agree. If they say we deserve that money, sign this. We don't have to go, okay. It's got to be justifiable. But then it gets hung up, because right now we're still there. Because guess what? The title company still has our money. We don't just automatically get it back either. So it kind of sits there in limbo. So they're fighting for money for stupid reasons. We're not giving into it. So it's not a signed key exchange agreement. So the money just sits. So then after like 2 years or 3 years or something like that, and nothing comes to an agreement, title literally hands it over to the state. And neither party gets the money. So just because they argue or fight and say we're entitled to it, unless it's justifiable and they can say, you know, and the sellers can still fight it. They don't just have to just give in and say it's your money. Okay. It's a situation you really don't want to get into, but it can get sticky, but that's how it works. So, okay. All right. Seller's disclosure. We're moving down to 18. So we want to say buyer has, prior to writing this offer, received seller's disclosure. We obviously know that's in there because we downloaded it from Remind. They completed that with the purchase agreement that we sent over, right? Or that we're sending over. Lead-based paint, same thing. Buyer acknowledges that prior to signing this agreement, buyers received and reviewed a copy of lead-based paint disclosure. That's tied to the disclosures, right? It's in this. You always want to do C as well. So I know A and B is in the same one. This is how I do it to cover my bases. I click A here, I click A here, and I also click C because buyer hereby waives an opportunity to conduct a risk assessment or inspection. Why am I clicking 2? That's the way I've always done it. Yes, we did receive the inspection, so I do confirm that. But C, we also don't plan to do a test because a lot of homes that were built in the 70s or before could potentially have lead-based paint. Very common. So if you want to do a test for lead-based paint on an older home, good luck. Waste your money. So default, in the event buyer fails to fulfill obligations set forth herein or fails to close this transaction in a time and manner provided, seller may elect to enforce the terms hereof, declare the sale void, and retain earnest money deposit. Seller, in the event seller fails to fulfill obligations set forth herein, blah, 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 Buyer may elect to enforce terms herein, declare sale void, be entitled to refund of earnest money deposit, and or seek legal matters. So what's the couple of phases in a purchase that a buyer can walk from a deal?
Inspection.
Private inspection. It's clearly right in there, because if you go back and you read the private inspection portion, actually we're getting to it still. It says you must have, this sale is contingent on a satisfactory private inspection, right?
Mhm.
If it's not satisfactory, you can A, renegotiate, or B, you can walk away, right? And then what? You're fully entitled to your EMD, right? What's the second one? What's the second one?
Is it appraisal?
Mhm.
Okay. I would have guessed.
It is. That's another time. It doesn't mean you can, but the appraisal comes back. We offered 130. The appraisal comes back at 90. What do? Call the agent. Hey, the appraisal came in really light. You know, we have to kind of talk this through, right? The appraisal came in at 90. We're willing to throw a couple dollars in. We'll give you 100 grand. No, we need 120. Well, we're willing to give you 100. Well, we need 120. You can't come to an agreement once the appraisal comes in. You have full right at that point to kill the deal and walk away and keep your money, your EMD. Okay. A lot of times people are doing the appraisal guarantees. What's an appraisal guarantee actually do?
Oh, you actually have that. So like if your house appraises at 100 instead of 120, you say I give you a 20,000 guarantee. That means that you have $20,000 on top of the appraisal that you're willing to pay.
So what did you do? What did the buyer do at that point? Instead of coming back and having to renegotiate, they what? They pre-negotiated what they're willing to do on a light appraisal. So guess what? They can't come. So if it comes in at 100, but we offered 5 and they agreed to it, guess what? They're getting 105. The seller can't come back and go, well, we didn't expect it to be 100 and you only offered 5. Can we renegotiate? No. Yeah. Appraisal guarantee means we pre-negotiated our appraisal gap accommodations for you and you agreed to it.
That's no longer an excuse.
So there is no renegotiating on a light appraisal. You did it in advance. Mm-hmm. This is what we're willing to do if it comes in light. That's it. Okay, great. We'll take it. The best part is when you put a 5 or a 10 or a 15 or $18,000 appraisal guarantee, which I've personally done, knowing that you need that to have a strong offer. And guess what? It appraises over what you offer. So they're like, dang, 18,000, that's a lot. That's really going to put us in the pinch. We're barely going to have enough to close, but we want to do it. And guess what? You get the chance to call them when Rob goes, hey, bro, the appraisal came back at value or higher. And I get to call Russell and go, hey, Russ, keep that 18 grand in your pocket, bro. It appraised good. That money don't come into play. You know how great of a feeling that is to call your client and say, I know we were stressed about that appraisal guarantee, but guess what? We don't have to use any of it. The appraisal's good. And now they kept, hey, let me take that 18 grand and I'm keeping it.
Wait, so explain that again. So if you offer over and if it comes back.
Okay, this house is 130. Right. This house is 124.9. Okay. We offered 130. Okay. Hypothetical, we offer a $10,000 appraisal guarantee. Mm-hmm. That's the max you can do as the buyer. I'm willing to do 10,000. That means outside of your closing costs, outside of your down payment, outside of your EMD, this $10,000 you're willing to put back towards the purchase of the home if indeed the appraisal comes in lighter than what we offered. Right. So we offered 130. If it comes in 120, we're giving them 130, but 10 of that's coming out of our bank. Okay. If we offer 130 and it comes in 100, we're giving them 10,000, they're getting 110. If we offer 130 and it comes in at 128, what are we giving them? Out of pocket. If we offered 130, we have a $10,000 appraisal guarantee and the appraisal comes in at 128. How much are we coming out of pocket? Correct. Huge variables. Okay. The full amount that we give, a small portion of it, but we offer 130 and it appraises at 131, we give 0 out of pocket. The appraisal guarantee goes away. It was just there in case we needed it. Got it. Okay. Okay. No, you can do 50,000. There's houses out there, they're doing 30, 40, 50, $60,000 appraisal guarantees. You can do whatever you have in your damn bank. If you're willing to put that much cash over it,
Yeah, I heard about
It got crazy for a while. People were going so far over. Say a house is on the market for $299. They're writing up a $375 with a $60,000 appraisal guarantee. That was happening.
Yeah, I believe that.
Every day. Crazy.
Mhm.
What was you gonna say, Mike?
I was gonna repeat what you said.
Right. So yeah, there's no limit on an appraisal guarantee. Hell, you might as well pay cash for the house, right? If you had it. Okay. 21, buyer agrees to pay closing fees charged by lender and our title company and a compliance transaction fee of payable to selling broker. What's that? It can be, trust me, here's what I'm going to say. Okay. Everyone has a different number. Every agent can determine what that number is. Whenever you have that number set, be consistent with it. Because that could, if people actually start paying attention to that, this one you only did $295, but this one you did $495, and this one you only did $190. Don't do that. Once you set your compliance fee, keep it consistent.
What is that your compliance? I mean, just like literally just that.
It's a compliance fee that goes to eXp Realty at time of closing. That's all you have to tell them. Because that's all it is. It's a compliance fee that goes to eXp Realty at time of closing. How about those lines? That's it. Okay. So we're going to do $495. That's what I do. That's what Mike does. That's what a couple of us do. Okay. Boom. Buyer's making this offer valid until when and when don't you use that? How long do you put? What do you say? How do you know if you should put an expiration date on it? What?
You want to pressure the seller.
So what would help you determine if you should put an expiration on it? Obviously, the conversation you have, the conversation you have with the listing agent will determine. But if you have a lot of offers, do you want to put an expiration on there? You want to clearly know before you hang up the phone, when are they presenting? Are you going to have an offer deadline? Do you plan to do a highest and best? All those things come into play, because if they go, hey, we're accepting offers through midnight Sunday night and it's only Thursday, and you put an expiration date for Saturday at 5 p.m., did you do any justice for your clients?
No.
Right in the garbage. Or if it's amazing, they'll call you back and go, hey, will you remove your expiration? If it's less, you want to put heat, okay? If you're the only offer, there's only one other, or they're anticipating one, or they're going to present as soon as they get the offers. You know they're not going to wait 1, 2, 3 days before they present. It can add a little heat, okay? It can just kick up the intensity of getting it presented, you know, and trying to get something to happen. Back to chess. We're playing chess with these guys, right? If they have 10 offers in, you're going to put an expiration date on it? No. Because the majority of other ones probably don't, right? They probably don't have an expiration. Right.
Like if your problem is, this might be a dumb question, but can you put, like if I'm looking at a house, say I have 3 houses, say we want to put an offer on a house, but then we want to put an offer on another, like how do you?
You got to be careful with that. What if you put 3 offers in on 3 houses and you get 3 calls within 30 minutes and all 3 of your offers were accepted?
I guess I know that you can't accept more, but I know you can't put them in, but my question is like, how do you engage and like, what do you do? Like if you're agreeing the client likes all 3, like, do you technically just put an offer there deadline and just try to like see if it works?
Every situation's unique. That's the only thing.
Which one do you feel home in?
Yeah.
There's no way they're going to equally love 3 homes.
Okay.
There's no way they're going to equally love 2 homes. They might love one and one is a fallback if you always pursue the one. But you put an offer in and you didn't put a deadline, and 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days go by. You don't really, but you don't really know what's going on. So while you're trying to engage with this agent to see what's taking so long, eventually you're going to have to make a move and start looking around.
Like,
What? Well, I was going to say, I would tell the agent, hey, we put in an offer, you know, we're eagerly waiting a response. My client's getting antsy. She did ask to go see more houses today. So because you can rescind an offer at any time. If you send an offer and it's sitting there and there's been no response, you can send an email and say, hey, we're rescinding our offer that was submitted on blah, 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 blah day. We're no longer, offering this. You can do that anytime. Okay. What's that? Different story. Different story.
Well, or like my did, I was getting sent me an email and then did an addendum and said we are adding a expiration of our contract. At first was a certain date, and then like I made a week I had to show them to the house that next day, and I was like, "What's your date of the show, right?" But we heard it on the market for 2 weeks, so my fear was that if I didn't accept their offer, I could have been screwed. So then I'm like, now they're saying it expires tonight. Like, I want to like, do I reach out? Like, what does the seller want to do? She's like, I don't take that chance. So then, he was pressing me, and he was, a jerk about it. He was like, well, now I'm changing my mind. Our offer expires tonight, and I was like, seller, hey, this is our options. Like, we either let the other two show and they might not buy, or we take what we got, and she wanted what we got.
Right.
So I'm gonna give it the
So every scenario is different, from both sides, So we're not going to we won't put an expiration on it, because I'll be honest, more times than no, I very rarely do it unless I feel it's going to give me leverage.
To get an extension, does it have to be an addendum, or can you send an email or text?
It has to be an addendum signed by both parties, because it becomes part of the closing documents. You can't technically, A, you're not going to close with EXP without an extension. B, most title companies won't close. They'll they'll actually provide it and have it signed at closing, because they pay attention to that date. Oh. Here's my point. You could even have a date on there. You're the only one that executes it. If you got tomorrow at noon and it's tomorrow at 4 o'clock, unless you call and go, hey, our offer's expired, we're not in play anymore. I've had some that had expiration date and I've accepted them 2 days later. So it's only if they act on it. They're putting it on there to put pressure, but are they actually pulling their offer? Call their bluff if you have to, if you're on the listing side. Or if you're on the buy side, you call them and say, hey, just so you know, we had an extension or offer deadline of noon today and it's past it, so we're no longer in play, those kind of things. Or through email, obviously. Never do it on the phone, because obviously it's not documented. I wouldn't even do it through text. It is documented through text, but I would always email those kind of details, because well, yeah, but then it's you can well, they never told it. Well, yeah, here's the email I sent Friday at 11:07. So additional documents attached, I don't really do that, but if you have an FHA addendum, sometimes you want to do that, certain things like that. I don't really mess with. You don't have to do that. The flood insurance part, buyer may at his expense obtain flood within so many days. There is flood insurance involved, but it doesn't dictate. I'm only going off the stuff that dictates the deal. If you don't fill that out, it isn't gonna, along the process, they know you have to get flood insurance if you have to get it. So it's not really a scenario that's gonna jeopardize the deal. It'll have in the listing, it'll give you a code. It'll give you a code, and you can look up the code to see, because there's like whatever it is, X1 or whatever some of those are called. So, but a lot of times you call the agent. If you're listing a house and you're in a flood zone, you should know it. You should know if your house is in a flood zone, because people are going to call you and ask you, and if you don't know, you're going to look foolish. Yeah, with my experience, I've dealt with this area and I know some of these homes do sit in a flood zone. Can you tell me if it is? But yeah, you can also look it up on the FEMA site too. But it isn't like they're boxes. It isn't like, hey, here's the flood zone area. That thing it'll go around neighborhoods, go in backyards. It's like completely unpredictable. All right, so property inspection is what we talked about. So, this is when we're going to do our private inspection. Private inspection, primarily, it depends on the urgency of the deal, because if you can use it to your advantage and do it sooner than later. I've seen some as quick as 3 days. Normally I do 7 is the standard. You don't want to go too far where it's going to take you 10 days or 14 days to do a private inspection, because that means the house is just lingering. So that listing agent's looking at, once I accept this, I go pending, and this house is just floating on the market for X amount of days. That's adding to the ticker. You know what I mean? So the quicker you want to do it, the better. So normally standard is 7. If you want to do, if it's a pressure situation, you can do 5. But what does that mean? 7 days what? 7 days to conduct the inspection? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Complete. So what is complete? Yeah. You've conducted the private inspection, you reviewed the inspection report, and you've already responded and told them that you are satisfied or dissatisfied with the private inspection.
I have a question.
All that has to happen within that number of days you put.
So, and just because I'm working with that girl here, like I feel the right thing to do, because she was saying like, well, what if because I told her about we can put the contingency on an inspection. She's like, well, what if the inspection comes back clear, but I don't want it? And I'm like, well, then you shouldn't have put the offer in.
Right. I mean, if that's
like,
what we said. If we're looking,
even if the inspection does come back good, do you really have to explain?
If you're writing an offer on a house and you're looking for an excuse to get out of it,
right,
you shouldn't be writing an offer on
exactly, yeah.
It is one of your justifiable phases that you could walk. So what are you going to do? Fabricate a problem of the house?
If they ask like, well, what was the issue? What came up in the inspection?
Well, you have to, because if you want to read this,
so you want to answer.
Listen, inspections, blah, blah, blah. Brokers recommend that buyer conduct independent private inspections of property at buyer's expense. Due diligence may include, but not limited to, any inspections or research deemed necessary by buyer, including structural integrity, condition of mechanical systems, environmental status, health and safety conditions, survey, infestation, blah, blah, blah. To ensure intended use of premises, recommended the buyer research, square footage, blah, all that stuff, okay? Seller, okay, so if buyer does not notify seller in writing within 7 calendar days from the final acceptance of agreement that the buyer is dissatisfied with the results of due diligence, the agreement shall be binding without regard to the inspection. Okay, if buyer notifies seller in writing and within specified time that in buyer's sole judgment, buyer is dissatisfied with results of due diligence, buyer shall do one or a combination of the following within the contingency. So, you can renegotiate, you can ask for money, or you can walk away from the deal. But you're going to say, hey, we had our private inspection, we're not happy with it. Is the listing agents go, oh, okay, just send me over a mutual release, we'll be fine. What are they going to say? Is the listing agent going to say that?
No.
If you're listing a house and I'm your buyer's agent and I go, hey, we did a private inspection last night, it didn't go so well, we're going to walk away, what would you say? You're the listing agent. Right.
Yeah.
Well, could you tell? Technically, you don't have to tell them, but why would you not if there's a problem with the house? Hey, there was a roof issue, there was a foundation crack, there was whatever you found that you didn't like. There was mold in the attic, whatever it is. Why would you say we're dissatisfied, but we're not going to tell you what we didn't like? And a lot of times people say, hey, would it be okay if you guys share the report, which you technically don't have to. The buyer paid for that and has the rights to that report.
Yeah.
But a lot of times agents will share it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put myself in a position that if somebody even goes forward to purchase a home,
right,
already looking for a way out.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be in that mind space, to be honest with you.
I agree.
So,
but if you don't notify them with that 7 days, if you're satisfied or dissatisfied, you technically lose your.
that's what that just said. Yeah.
You have to move forward.
If buyer does not notify seller in writing within 7 calendar days from final acceptance, so the day they accepted your offer, the buyer, if they don't let them know they're dissatisfied with the results, agreement shall be binding without regard to the inspection. You could have had the shittiest inspection on the planet, but you waited 9 days to send an email and go, we're not happy, but you put 7 in your purchase agreement. Sucks to be you. Well, even though if you did decide to walk, technically you're breaching your contract. You're in the wrong. So you're not entitled to anything. You could walk away, but you're going to lose your money. Mm-hmm. So 7 days means we have to do the inspection, review the report, and let the agent know if we're, I always even say, I'll send an email and say, hey, or my clients are satisfied with the inspection and we're ready to move forward with the remainder process of the purchase. So, And then down here, it says buyer does or buyer does not. They initial that they do want to have a private inspection. Very rarely, I never recommend not doing a private inspection. If you feel like it's a difference maker from you getting the deal or not. Could you imagine waiving a private inspection on a home if you're the seller and you have 5 offers and 4 of them want to do a private inspection, but one that's very close said, we'll waive the private inspection. But you have a 30-year-old furnace or you have some random leak in the corner of the basement that they're not going to come in. Of course, that's going to hold some weight, right? Real quick, municipal inspections, that's city inspections. This is pretty much saying if a city inspection of the premises are required, seller agrees to pay for inspections, seller agrees to complete any and all repairs required by city, provided repairs do not exceed X. So obviously the seller's paying for this. Who just brought up the other ask? Did you tell me? Someone said the buyers when they buy, who told me someone said the buyers when they buy the house have to do the city inspection and do the repairs. Somebody just, yeah.
Buyer to assume or to get city inspection and a super repairs after closing. I was like, Michael,
she saw a listing like that. You technically cannot sell the home without that. What city was it? Wyandotte? No way. Wyandotte would hammer you. What was it? Trenton or something? Trenton? Yeah. Yeah. So if you ever hear that, call the agent and run because that's not how it works. So anyway, so this is saying seller agrees to do city inspection because seller is required to do the inspection with, pay for it. And this is an agreement. If something comes up from the city, you could put $50 there. You could put, I put $7,500 there because we thought the porch was going to come up. We thought the driveway was going to come up and they were willing to sell it. So they told them put $7,500 in there. And guess what? The city came back with no repairs.
So I guess I don't understand what this dollar amount means. So
you're telling the seller, when the city inspection is done, we're expecting you to pay this amount before we pay anything. So if there's $2,500 in city repairs that come back on the report, and we're asking you to pay $1,500, you have to handle the majority up to $1,500 worth before we go any further. So you will probably assume the rest, but this is telling you you're on the hook for that amount. But then you could get into detail. Hey, we need quotes. We need estimates. You know what I mean? A lot of times it don't go that route, but it does happen.
So like all the ones I'm doing now, I would say that like the seller would have to pay up to say like $1,500 in repairs and then I'd be responsible after that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. For the city part. Yeah. Okay. Obviously we know the buyer is accepting the house and as is condition. Buyer and seller agree that any legal action against either party or blah, 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 blah related to condition of the property. That's legal stuff. We stay out of all legal stuff. Mike, we stay out of all legal stuff. Whenever any legal gets involved, you as the agent, remove yourself from the equation. Okay. If someone says they're talking to their attorney, anything that they're suing, going to court, evictions, remove yourself. Do not get involved with that ever, ever, ever. Okay.
Yeah.
Showing, seller agrees not to allow the property to be shown after the inspection contingency removed. See, that's how sometimes, remember when there's continue to shows and accepting backup offers? They're legally allowed to do that until you come back with a satisfactory inspection. Okay. Let's see. Final walkthrough. Buyer reserves the right to walk through the property within 48 hours prior to closing. The entire agreement supersedes any and all understanding of the agreements. Blah. Same time is of the essence. Buyer and seller understand that no extensions of time limits contained herein are expected or agreed unless specifically in writing. That's where the seller did not have to extend our offer. Okay. So miscellaneous things that don't matter. So other, there's a lot of things that can go into there. So we're right at the very end, but other can be a lot of things. So what's some of the things we could put in the other? I'll tell you the first thing I do is I rewrite in here compliance fee. Put it right in there because when title sees it, they're going to read these terms and it won't be overlooked from earlier. So I reiterate it there. Contingencies. Contingencies go in here, correct. Appraisal guarantees.
Importantly, want to stand out.
Except for you got to remember, this goes to mortgage. Rob, what's some things you would not want to see your buyer put in the terms that would concern you if you got this purchase agreement sent over? Can I say one? Assuming repairs to me, I think is big.
Yeah, anything very property
Right.
or landscaping, anything. Because we might get an appraisal waiver on a person's
right.
Put something like that, and you'll have landscaping, you got dirt in your front yard, and we not know about it. You're not getting along.
Right. So any of that stuff, any stuff that you like repairs, damages, you know, any of that, but all the other things we talked about, like I said, appraisal guarantees, contingencies, even on the private inspection, private inspections will be done on a pass-fail basis only, no renegotiations, you know, to follow. Those kind of things you can put in there. Use your terms, your other terms. That's very valuable. All those things you want, you can pepper that because that really stands out. So as I wrap that up, so with that part, okay, you're signing, great. Last couple of things. We sign it, boom. I send it off to Selena's agent because she's the seller. They review it. They love it exactly the way it is. Selena signs it. We get it back. We got an accepted offer. Does it need to be bottom line?
No.
Why does everybody bottom line it?
The only bottom line is change something.
But out of 100 deals, 85 agents send it back and ask for it to be bottom line. Because if you read in the bottom line, so buyer's acknowledgement, buyer's signature below acknowledges receipt of seller's signed acceptance of this agreement and constitutes a final acceptance of seller's counter offer if any changes were made by the seller, thereby making this agreement a counter offer. So if they take this whole thing and they go, hey, we're going to go to the EMD, but we want you to give us $3,000 in EMD. So they scratch this out, okay? And they write 3,000 and they initial it right here. That's a change. You know what that became? A counter offer. This offer right here no longer exists. They now countered your offer with a new offer. Then you bottom line. When agents send it back to me and go, hey, will you have your client's bottom line the offer, even though it doesn't? I do it. Yeah. It's whatever. But the point is that technically is not needed. You know what I mean? So. Right. So anyway, so that's purchase agreement. I know it's a lot. I hope that helped a lot. So what I do is I take those key components of that's very important because now we know everything that mattered to that agent and those sellers. And when I email this over to them, I literally say, hey, Mike, on behalf of my clients, I'm honored to submit our offer to purchase your property at blah, 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 Oak Street. I have very solid clients. They're working with Rob at Empire Mortgage. Here's his contact info if you'd like to reach out to him. We've seen many houses over the course of time, and we knew the minute we walked into this house, they knew this was their forever home. We're excited for you to present and to get a response back from you. Please confirm you received our offer and let me know when to expect it being presented. See, all that wording goes a long way. And then if you know you have a strong offer with very good little elements of it, you put details of offer in bold underneath and you literally bullet point how much you wrote, conventional, how much down, appraisal guarantee, how much time free occupancy. And that stuff stands right out. And I'm getting ready to have a full offer submission form that we can start sending with all our offers because some brokerages do expect that, but we'll have our own. We'll be proactive on it. So these key elements that I put in the email, we'll just include it in our offer. So it gives all those bullet points of those strong pieces of our offer that will stand out to them. So we'll have that here in the next couple of weeks. Okay. But literally, you know me, I run forever. Any questions on any of that stuff that we talked about? It is a lot. I know we're going to start doing a lot more. We're going to do it side by side. You're going to have to see it over and over. Yeah. But
every element can change.
Right.
Just like a basic.
Yep. Every deal is different. That will need different components and different pieces to be the strongest offer for that.
I did want to ask a question about the lead-based paint thing. So any home, I remember learning about this, any home before 1970.
78.
What is it?
78.
1978. So if like
it just says could have, potentially could have.
If we're looking at homes that were built in like the 1950s, is that something that?
I mean, the odds of the original paint still being on the wall is rare because I mean, someone hasn't painted that house in 60 years.
What's the best way to cover it?
But even, you know what, here, my first year in real estate, I was at Real Estate One in Southgate, and Clint was my manager. And here's how he explained it to me. Hey, everyone wants to think that lead-based paint is a big deal, and it may potentially be in a lot of these older homes.
Yeah.
All you really got to tell yourself or tell your family, tell your kids, don't lick the walls.
Right, but I personally have a family friend that moved into like an old home in Detroit, and they had a baby at the time, and the baby was chewing at the window, like that little piece that hangs out under the window.
Windowsill, yeah.
And the baby ended up getting some damage from that. So that's why, like, if I have a client with a kid looking at homes that are.
But what's the odds of that actually happening?
Well, I know, but like they may not even know about the lead base.
Well,
like,
you can. I mean, look, you know, I'm gonna dig in just real quick, but bring up a lead-based paint disclosure.
Yeah, no.
And it literally says the house was built after 1978, so it's not to worry about, or the house was built before 1978.
This agreement, they are.
Well, they're signing a lead-based paint specific. That's telling them if this house was built before 1978, there's a chance this could have lead-based paint.
Yeah.
Be aware of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the document.
Yeah, that's what that's specifically for.
I feel like
Paint over is the best way to go.
I feel like that's
Same with the stuff that's covered.
yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't even want to. Me personally, I would
Go back to the purchase agreement and go to the
Make
first
copies,
page,
yeah.
after the first page. Please,
What did you
okay.
No.
Helpful hint, all that stuff in there, cool, on very, very top.
Very tough.
Agent's information, so. All that information right there, crucial. Phone number, email, office, agent, every contact, every possible contact information, have in there for your lender. So, because they got to plug and play all that. Yeah. EMD, ABC, title company. You know what would also be helpful for me as a lender? To know what city they're in. Yeah. Because then I can plug that in to my information and I can look it up online, and then I can also add that in there. So I don't have to come back later. So if you're sending all this over to me, you want me to start working on this loan before the offer is accepted.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna start working on it, even before the inspection's done. I'm gonna start getting this ready because the clock is ticking, right?
And a lot of times he's already crunched numbers behind. We already know what down payment will be, what closing costs will be, what taxes will be, what a monthly payment will be, all that you preface this stuff all in the front. So what I do is I would call my lender ahead of time, say, hey, we're going to look at this house. I think we're going to like it. Can you crunch these numbers and spit it back out to my buyer so they already know in advance what their down payment is, what the taxes look like, what their monthly payment will be, everything. You know what I mean? Because that a lot of that work gets done on the front end way before you get an offer accepted, if you're that serious about that listing. But true, that's why I want to work on that submission form, because I want all that in there. Lender information, title information, agent information, and then all the key components of that offer.
Sometimes people will leave off the agent ID or the office ID.
Sure.
That's perfect.
So, all right, well, I'm going to wrap up. I know this was longer, you know me. DJ 2-hour training is what they call me. For sure. Okay, Ingrid, I will chat with you here shortly, okay? If you're there.
Okay. See you.
All right.
See you.